Remember I made that video about the Saavedra position? Well, now it's finally time to see that in action. And trust me, this solution just might blow your mind a little bit. In today's puzzle, we're going to see how patience and how every single move in chess really does have a purpose. And if you do rush, you're just going to lose the game. Now it's White's turn to move here and eventually win the game. Now at first glance you might think, hey, how difficult can this really be? We're up a knight, we can also take this pawn, and I'm sure there's multiple ways of winning this, right? That's incorrect. There is honestly only one single way of coming out of this game the victor. So let's try and find that one way of winning this. The first move, if you ask me, is more or less obvious. White is just going to capture the pawn, because if not, what else are you going to do? Take the f-pawn with your knight, that's going to allow black to exchange rooks, capture your pawn, and end the game in a draw. So let's not do that. Right away, pawn takes. Rook to c1, check. And now we start to see why this position is a little more challenging than we first thought. The challenge is that the most natural move in this position, which in my opinion is king to g2, that's what a lot of you, myself included, would most likely play in a time scramble, it turns out to be a big blunder. And unfortunately, if you play that move, black is going to be able to draw the game. Black is going to take the rook, you would take back, and the black king is going to be able to save this. Now even if you protect your pawn with knight to f8, the black king is closer, and he's going to attack both your knight and the pawn, and unfortunately that's going to lose you the game. Now if you had your mind on king to e2, thinking that maybe you could promote your pawn this way, sadly you're headed down the wrong path. Black is just going to take your rook, you're going to push that pawn, and in this position black is not going to take your knight, allowing you to promote. No. Here, black has this nice little defense with rook to h5, with the idea that if you do promote, he can fork your queen and king because his rook is going to be protected by that pawn. Now here, the best move is to take this pawn with your knight, but by doing that, you'd still allow rook to e5, forking the pawn and the king. The only winning move that's going to allow you to promote ends up being king to f2. Now one key aspect of king to f2 and not e2 is that black is not going to have that fork with rook to e5 when you promote. So don't worry, that's not all. This puzzle has a lot more to offer. From here we can see that black has no other option than to start checking the white king. So what are you going to play next as white? If you try to attack the rook with either king to g3 or king to g1, black is just going to move to e2 and win your pawn the next move. The same thing happens if you move your king to the e file. Black has the same defense from the last example with rook to h5 and rook to e5, so your only option as white is to move your king up the board on the f file. Now black again has no other option but to keep checking. And we arrive at another critical position here. Pause the game and let me know what your next move would be here. Now from what we can see, you can't move to f7 because the rook is going to skewer you, and you also can't move to the e file because black could just play rook to h1 and skewer you from behind if you promote. Now even if you try promoting your pawn by moving your knight to f6 with the idea of creating a bridge here, this move is not going to help you either, because after that knight move, the black rook can go to h8 and stop your pawn from promoting from the side. Now how can you save this? Well, you can't. Knight to d7, check. If knight to f8, then we can see the same rook move on the first rank. And if the knight moves to f6 to defend the promotion square, black would gladly sacrifice his rook to draw this game. Now surprisingly, the winning pattern here is to go back with your king. Rook to h5, remember you can't go knight to g5 because of rook to h8, so again, the only move is king to f4. And once again, we repeat this pattern until we can move to e2. Okay, I hope that makes it pretty clear why we can move to the e file now. It's because the rook can't skewer us from behind. Black is going to continue harassing us with checks, and here's the beauty of this position and of this puzzle. In this position, the white king is going to move to d3. And we see this little cat and mouse game up until now. Now quick note here, if black tries to move his rook back to h1 and then to e1 afterward, he can't stop white from promoting, because white can play knight to f6. And if the rook moves to e1, then knight to d7 check, the knight to e5 would successfully create a safe bridge for white to promote. If the rook moves to h8, we have the same check on d7, knight moves to f8, interfering with the rook's control over the promoting square. Even if black starts rechecking, the white king can hide on d7 and black is not going to be able to stop the promotion next turn. Now going back to our initial position, black's best defense is still to continue checking. So now what? You still can't go to the e-file because of rook to h1 and rook to e1. You can't move to d7 because black is going to take your knight and pin the pawn. So is this really all there is? White's just going to go back and repeat all the same moves over and over? Have you been able to find the brilliant move from white here to win this game? Alright, I'll tell you. It's knight to f6. That's the brilliant move. Just brilliant. Black is not able to defend this with rook to h8 because we have the exact same pattern with knight to d7 and knight to f8. So he's got to accept this Trojan horse. And now I know you're just sick of this, but hey, it's a learning video. So pause the video once again. Think for a minute about what white's next move is going to be because we've just arrived at the basics of the Saavedra position. Now there's a slight change in black's king position in this classic example. It's on a1 instead of b6, but you're going to see the same motif here. Now be honest. Did you play king to e5? Because if you played that move, you're going to lose your entire advantage right at the end. Black is going to have the exact same defense with rook to f1 and rook to e1, skewering your king and queen once again. You can't go to the 7th rank because rook to f7 is going to pin your pawn. So the only solution is going back, and believe it or not, this wins the game. There you have it. That's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. I was joking. But this position really is a winning position for white. Now, it's hard to believe, I know, because it seems like we just didn't really do anything special. And the position looks pretty similar to the one we had before. So how is this a win? And why was the previous position a draw? Now, do you see why now it's a win, or do you still need more time? Here's the previous position when the king was on e2. You see anything different? There you go. Congratulations. It's the rook's position. All of those moves, all of that little dance, the knight's sacrifice, were made to arrive at this exact position, where black's rook does not have any squares to check the king. He can't go to the 8th rank because the pawn would take it. Also, he can't attack from behind because the king controls that entire file. In the Saavedra position, black still has one single brilliant way of saving the game for himself, but this defense is not going to work in this position. If you're curious and would like to see more, I recommend watching that video as well. Thank you so much for watching this one, and we'll see you next time. I hope you win all your future games.